We're talking about a game changer that's going to transform the entire landscape. Just as we once made a dramatic shift from making looms to making automobiles, something massive is happening at Toyota, a breakthrough so disruptive that it could collapse everything we know about electric vehicles. We have a very good relationship with Toyota, and they're a significant shareholder in Tesla. Patents are being filed, prototypes are being tested under complete secrecy, and at the center of it all, a bold claim from Toyota's own CEO that this could be the beginning of the end for the entire EV industry. Why is he so confident, though? Let's find out. The whispers started subtly, a murmur in the auto world. Then the rumblings grew louder, culminating in a statement so bold, so seemingly audacious, it sent shockwaves through the entire industry. Toyota's CEO stepped forward with a claim many dismissed as impossible, a declaration that promised to rewrite the rules of the road. Our new engine will end electric cars. A stunning announcement, don't you think? But before we get to that earth-shattering revelation, before we dissect the technology and the implications of this audacious claim, we must first understand the web of factors that led to this moment. When we talk about electric vehicles, we often celebrate them as the future, clean, green, and endlessly progressive. But beneath the shiny exteriors and zero-emission claims lies a silent revolution. One that quietly fuels the electric dream. At the core of this revolution are rare earth elements, some of the most crucial yet under-discussed resources of our time. Let's start with magnets. The heart of every high-performance electric motor beats thanks to permanent magnets made with elements like neodymium, praseodymium, dysprosium, and terbium. These aren't household names, but without them, your Tesla wouldn't glide down the freeway. These rare piles of earth create powerful magnetic fields in compact spaces, giving electric motors their impressive torque and efficiency. Alternatives exist, but they're heavier, less efficient, and far more expensive for mass-market adoption. In other words, rare earth solutions aren't just convenient right now, they're essential. But here's the catch. Over 85% of global rare earth processing is currently handled by a single country, China. That's not just a number, it's a strategic chokehold. China has not only dominated mining operations within its own borders, but also controls critical refining capacity, even for rare earths mined elsewhere. Australia might have the rocks, the US might dig a few holes, but when it comes to turning raw ore into something usable, that funnel narrows sharply, and China holds the spigot. It gets even more complicated. China has implemented export quotas, tightened environmental restrictions, and even hinted at strategic supply curbs in response to international tensions. The global EV industry, despite its forward-looking message, is in many ways built on geopolitical sand. The dependence is so severe that even a modest disruption, whether from trade wars, environmental policy shifts, or global conflicts, could ripple through the EV supply chain like an earthquake. And then there's the price tag. Rare earth markets are notoriously volatile. Between 2010 and 2011, prices for neodymium and dysprosium skyrocketed by over 750% in some cases after China slashed export quotas. Automakers were thrown into a frenzy, and governments scrambled to reevaluate their supply chains. The rare earth market has stabilized since then, but it's far from predictable, and the true cost isn't just measured in dollars. Rare earth mining is messy. Extraction often leads to toxic wastewater, contamination, and even radioactive pollution. All of this leads us to the practicality paradox, where adding larger battery packs to extend range also increases the weight of the vehicle, which in turn reduces efficiency. A typical EV battery can weigh anywhere from 900 to 1,600 pounds, nearly a third of the entire vehicle's mass in some cases. This added weight impacts handling, braking, and wear and tear on suspension and tires. It also consumes more energy during acceleration, particularly in stop-and-go traffic, which ironically shortens the very range those bigger batteries were meant to extend. And if you think this only affects the car itself, think bigger. A mass transition to electric vehicles would place an immense new burden on national electric grids, systems already strained in many parts of the world. Consider the impact of millions of cars charging simultaneously during peak hours. Without major grid upgrades, blackouts could become more common and electricity rates could soar. Integrating renewable energy sources like solar and wind can help, but doing so at scale introduces intermittency challenges. The sun doesn't always shine, the wind doesn't always blow. Utility companies are starting to experiment with smart charging solutions, technologies that manage when and how EVs draw power from the grid. But adoption is slow, and retrofitting outdated grids in sprawling countries is a generational task, not a quarterly fix. On top of all that, batteries don't like the cold. In sub-zero temperatures, range can drop by 20 to 40%, and charging times increase significantly. Why? Because chemical reactions inside the battery slow down, and extra energy is required just to heat the battery and keep the cabin warm. For drivers in northern climates, that's more than inconvenient. It's limiting. And unlike gas engines, which generate excess heat as a byproduct, EVs must spend precious battery energy just to stay warm, reducing range further. Taken together, these are practical limitations that affect real people, commuters, families, truckers, and delivery drivers, each facing very different driving environments and expectations. And it's here that Toyota once again stands apart. You see, it's not that Toyota doesn't believe in electrification. They've pioneered it since the Prius. But they seem to recognize a simple truth others ignore. Not every region, not every driver, and not every use case fits into the one-size-fits-all EV mold. This point of view may prove to be visionary, because if the battery can't carry us into the future alone, what can? Well, that takes us deep into the bold and exotic technologies that could redefine everything we know about energy storage and propulsion.